Hello, welcome back to Recovery Demystified. My name's Early. I'm so happy to have y'all here today. If you're a first-time listener, these book and podcast resources are for people who, are trying to get into recovery, and oftentimes the first thing that people suggest to us is to go to a 12-step meeting. And I'm not ragging on 12 steps in general. Like, obviously it's helpful for a lot of people, but saying that you have to accept God of your own understanding in order to recover is not true. I'm glad when that works for people, but there's first off, there's a huge percentage of people that are just going to hear the word God and hit the ground running and go back out to the streets and use drugs until they die. And then there's another group of people who are going to try the God thing and be even more harmed by it. And within the context of all that, there's a lot of us that are queer, that have religious trauma, that just are generally going to be harmed by a religious program. And it really bothers me that that is the ubiquitous recovery modality. Is in every treatment center. It's in the jails. It's what all the therapists tell you to go do. It's just white male Christian patriarchal hegemony that is deeply rooted into our fucking colonist society. And anyway, girl, I'm up on my soapbox now. But my point is, you do not have to believe in God or be spiritual to recover. And what you need in recovery is what you need in recovery, because we're all different from each other. And it might seem much easier if someone just tells you what to do, and that might work for some people. But it's a harder path to follow. But I think if we all are able to do that self-discovery work and test out different things in our recovery and truly figure out what works for us, that is going to be a much stronger foundation to build our new lives on, instead of some teetering Jenga mountain of randomly stacked blocks that someone else told us to put there. So in these book and podcast episodes, I talk about resources that I think are good, that helped me. And they're things that you can try. And as you're trying new things in your recovery, get out your journal, write down how it makes you feel, write down what you learn, write down if it makes you feel like fucking shit and you want to drink more, and get that research data about yourself and hold on to those things that are helpful for you and toss aside everything that is not helpful for you. And that is going to build the strongest foundation for your recovery, because not everyone needs to do the exact same thing. That doesn't make any sense. We're all different from each other. We need to try everything and see what works for us and fucking hold on to it. So this month I have 3 books and 3 podcasts that I want to talk to y'all about. And the first one, oh my gosh. Okay. So obviously I'm weird. I'm a wingnut. And I so appreciate genuine, original, chaotic wingnuttery. And I had a friend suggest this book to me, and I was super excited to read it. It's called Existential Kink by Carolyn, Elliott, PhD. And the subtitle is Unmask Your Shadow and Embrace Your Power. And y'all, then I started reading it and I was put this thing in the freaking trash can. It was too crazy. But hear me out. I was I'm just going to give it the 100-page courtesy. That's how I feel about books. I can judge them in the first few pages, but who knows what's going to happen, right? So I always give books the 100-page courtesy, even if I don't like them. But the thing about this book was that I got to 100 pages and it really started to grow on me. And then I read the whole thing. The basic concept here, I love it because it's so crazy. She is what if having is evidence of wanting in your life? And maybe if you have all these things that continually cause you to suffer, maybe a shadow part of yourself secretly wants them and likes them. And maybe if we stop resisting that shadow part of ourselves and embrace it and say, okay, yeah, a part of me does love suffering, right? From whatever it may be. A part of me loves, I don't know. She goes into so much chaotic shit. The ultimate wingnuttery of this book, it is so crazy, y'all. She is the way she suggests to address the shadow part of yourself that secretly likes suffering is to jerk off about it. And she's like, okay, that's the existential kink, I guess, is like that you're secretly horny for the things that the shadow part of yourself likes. And if you can realize that you're secretly horny for the things that the shadow part of yourself likes, and she suggests like these rituals of like literally jerking off about it, then after you jerk off about it and you realize you secretly like it, then you can take steps in your life and open doors for yourself to change things after you have this like great awareness of it. But I just think it is like so next level wackadoodle that it's worth telling people about. I don't know. I think it's cool because it's empowering. I think it's cool because she has like a PhD in, I forget what it is, philosophy or something. So she like draws upon all different like ancient cultures and philosophical thinkers of over the years. Oh my gosh, my chihuahua's, can you hear him? My chihuahua's feeling evil. Dove, quiet down. Yeah, she draws on like all these different philosophical thinkers and like ancient traditions and ways of thinking about the shadow part of ourselves from like all of fucking history. And it's an interesting book. And I did bookmark one little passage just so I can illustrate to you how wacky and wild it is. Okay, so she says, so for me, the practice was to imagine that I had already failed and massively disappointed someone, and then to work on letting myself get off on the sensation of humiliation that I imagined would accompany such stuff. Usually when I do this, I just notice how closely intertwined fear and desire truly are. Anytime I'm anxious about something, I'm actually tenderly caressing the possibility of it, pushing on it with my tongue like it's a loose tooth, savoring the little jolts of misery it gives. Yeah, I guess I don't know how else to explain this book besides that it is just, I've never seen this level of wingnuttery, and my friend who suggested it to me really liked it, and it's based on a concept of like self-empowerment and self-inquiry. So I don't know, if you want to jerk off on what your shadow self loves secretly, it's an interesting book. It's weird. The one red flag that like almost made me put the book down was in the beginning. She thinks that Eckhart Tolle and, God, what is that other woman's name? Byron Katie are enlightened. And those are two of my like ops. So I'm like, oh my God, you think Byron Katie is enlightened? Like, what the fuck is actually wrong with you? And I kind of want to do like a drag episode on like the 3 worst self-help books that I've ever read. And honestly, Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie would be the number 1 and number 2 worst self-help books that I've ever read. So that was a huge red flag that she thought that those 2 people were great. I mean, she doesn't show any of the other red flag behavior that those 2 authors show. She just likes them, which is questionable. But anyway, I sort of recommend Existential Kink by Carolyn, Elliott, PhD. Oh my God, there's a bird on my windowsill. Cute. I'm recording at home again, y'all. It gets a little chaotic here. It's not like the sterile atmosphere of the podcast booth. The second book I read this month was called Portrait of an Addict as a Young Man by Bill Clegg. And I've talked about this before. I'm just now realizing that the memoir style addiction recovery books can be so viscerally triggering to me. So I'm like, I guess with any of these books, just listen to yourself about how it's making you feel, and if it's like a healing type of vibe or if it's like a holy shit triggering type of vibe. Sometimes, like, okay, so in this book, he is in like the climax of a crack bender and he's destroying his entire life and it's fucked. And like, it just made me feel when I was reading it, like that addicted voice in my brain was like, this is us. We're a loser. We're fucked too. Go ruin your life. And it was so loud. Like, it is not normally like that in my day-to-day life. So while reading this book, like having those feelings in my body and those thoughts in my mind, it was, luckily I have the skills and resources where like I can address that type of stuff quite well. But years ago or in like early recovery or something, if I had those feelings, I definitely would self-destruct, you know? So I've read a lot of these addiction memoir style books, and I don't think I ever really realized that until like a few months ago, how triggering it is for me. So read with caution and just like be honest with yourself. Like, this might not happen to you. Obviously, we're different people, but be honest with yourself. Like, oh, are these thoughts coming up? Is there like a body feeling, like a body memory of my trauma resurfacing? And do I have the skills to handle it or not? Like, is my addicted voice telling me that this man having this crack bender is something that I should also do? So yeah, just proceed with caution, I guess, with anything in recovery, and listen to yourself and journal about it, and really, really, really be honest and try to learn for yourself, like, what is helping me and what is not helping me. And what helps you is going to be different than what helps the person next to you, and what hurts you is going to be different than what hurts the person next to you. We're all different, and that's good. Anyway, this book, like I said, he is in the climax of a crack bender for the entire book. The chapters also go back and forth between like why his childhood was fucked up, like how he got addicted. And he's a really, really, really good writer. And he's gay, which we love. And he just like, I don't know. There's like a level of intensity to the entire thing. There's not a slow or boring moment whatsoever. And it's just like go, 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 go. And you watch him go into these moments of psychosis. And when he's doing it, it sort of feels like it's real. But when I started reading it, I was like, oh yeah, those are hallucinations. And then later it comes on, he's like, oh yeah, that was a hallucination. But yeah, it's amazing to me also, these books where it's like rich people addicted to drugs, because I simply could not spend that long in a hotel room having a fucking $800 of crack delivered. Like, also, these books in New York City, like, y'all have fucking crack delivery in New York City for rich people? Yeah, it's so weird and so different than my life. And also, like, on any type of bender, I eventually, after a few days of it, would get so broken that I, like, had to stop and recover for a minute. But in this book, he's just going and going and going and wasting away and putting a new hole in his belt just to, like, because he's getting thinner and thinner, just to, like, hold his pants up. And there's not a lot of books about crackheads. This is weird because it's like a rich crackhead. I mean, being strung out is just relatable in general. If you've been strung out, like, you can see a reflection of yourself in this person, like, oh my God, that's what happens to me. That's so relatable. It is weird and unrelatable when it's like people that are so wealthy that they can blow $90,000 in a hotel room or something. Like, that's weird to me, but bless their hearts. Rich people get addicted to crack too. I got so emotional reading this book, seeing someone strung out in a psychosis, reading about like their messed up childhood. And yeah, just like, man, to get brought back to the trauma of being strung out like that. I'm still trying to figure out for me if it's healing or if it's re-traumatizing. But obviously these books exist for a reason. And I think for a lot of people, just seeing their own struggles reflected in someone else is humanizing. So that's why I would recommend Portrait of an Addict as a Young Man by Bill Clegg. And the last book that I read this month, it's kind of serendipitous. I was planning on talking about this book on this podcast anyway, and then I actually picked it up again and really needed to read it. It's called When Things Fall Apart, Heart Advice for Difficult Times by Pema Chodron. And I needed to read this again. I've read it several times, but I needed to read it again because the anniversary of my friend Mark's death happened recently on August 27th. And it was like something cracked open inside of me that morning. It was like I was standing in front of the well of grief again after a whole year, and I realized that maybe my body still thought he was alive, or maybe just realized that he died, because like when I'm in his house, I still think that he's gonna like walk out of the door. And also I'm doing like a storytelling recording project about him right now as well. And in my mind, I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, when I'm done recording all these stories about my dead friend, oh, then I can show it to my dead friend. And then I was like, wait, what? So yeah, I just like had this moment where like all emotional chaos sort of broke loose and took me over. And I felt really crazy. And like my grief brain was just an 11 out of 10. And I was like, fuck, like what? It was really hard to remember the like mental health resources that I need during that type of stuff. But I picked up this book and I was like, yes, When Things Fall Apart. That's the one. That's the one I need to read. And Pema Chodron is an amazing author. She's a Buddhist and she gives like Buddhist talks. And as much as I 110% believe that you do not have to be spiritual whatsoever in any format to have recovery, Buddhism personally in my life has been so helpful. And I think it's because I don't actually know what counts as spiritual. I feel like anything can be spiritual. You can like look at a flower and be fucking spiritual if you want. Like, to me, spirituality, the word just has a negative connotation because I relate it to organized religion, which I'm not a fan of. So to think that anything is spiritual just kind of gives me the ick a little bit. And if it gives you the ick, that's totally fine. But the cool thing about Buddhism is that basically thousands of years ago, when the Buddha was alive, he was creating teachings about common mental issues that all of us experience as humans, and then how to have healthy coping skills to deal with common mental issues. And it all still applies to today. Like, the human brain, hasn't changed that much. And we all still experience difficult things like dealing with suffering and jealousy and grief and whatever else. And Buddhism, for me, is so just like absolutely infinitely helpful that whenever I'm going through something that's like difficult or stressful, if I can draw on a Buddhist teaching to help me get through it, it's just one of my strongest coping skills. So after that thing broke inside of me and I was standing at the well of grief and I was like high key kind of like freaking out for a couple of days, I opened this book. And the first teaching is the teaching of groundlessness, which basically is like, if you're falling off of a cliff and you're free falling and there's like a rock free falling next to you, you can grab onto that rock and you might feel some kind of security that you're holding something, but in the end, you're still free falling. And the earth is moving underneath of our feet and there's nothing we can do to control or stop it. Everything is in a constant state of either expansion or contraction, coming together and falling apart. And there simply just is nothing we can do to change that. And if we can accept that the ground is moving underneath of our feet, if we can accept that we're in a free fall, if we can accept that everything is either coming together or falling apart, then the stress of the clinging, the stress of trying to make it be something different goes away and it dissolves, and we can just like relax into the moment and be grateful that we're alive and be grateful that we're having this fucking crazy experience that is life on earth. Yeah, but this book, it's really simple. It's really like introductory Buddhist teachings. Each section is just like a few pages, so it's really digestible, and you can just like take 10 minutes to read one of the sections and just sit with it. And it's not some like super heady, weird spiritual jargon or anything like that. And yeah, it's just simple, digestible, easy to understand. It's good advice. It draws on the knowledge of thousands of years of Buddhist tradition, and it helps me and lots of other people get through those like very difficult mental moments that we go through in life. And honestly, like, Buddhism just helps me feel fucking peaceful on a normal day. And then when things do fall apart, it helps me remember my mental coping skills. And looking in this book and doing all of my normal routines, walking my dogs, doing my yoga videos, sleeping, drinking water, eating food, all of that stuff, like, I feel like I very easily, during that time of standing at the well of grief after the anniversary of Mark's death, in another lifetime or in early recovery, that so easily could have led to me spiraling out, going on a bender, and destroying my life. But with the wonderful coping skills that I have now, and knowing when to pick up the right book, and knowing to stay with my routines and my self-care work and my journaling and talking to friends and talking to my therapist and everything else like that, I can spend a day or 2 or 3 at the well of grief freaking out, and then I can go back to normal life and not self-destruct. So that's why I recommend When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron. Any book by her is really good, but this one is just, it's so gentle and it's so helpful during the really difficult times. So I recommend that one. And for podcasts, I know I said that I'm sick of listening to podcasts and I wasn't going to recommend them anymore, but I'm trying to like figure out a way to still do that, even though I'm like burned out on listening to recovery podcasts, which I actually think maybe I'm getting unburned out really soon and that I can start checking out new ones and suggesting them to y'all. But what I have this month is a list of 3 really gay podcasts. And here's the tea on that. So, okay, story time. One time, I met this person who shall go unnamed, who I thought perhaps I could be friends with, who I told that I use they, them pronouns. And this person told me that I was brainwashed by the media to think that I was genderqueer and that it doesn't actually exist and that I'm brainwashed by the woke media or whatever. And this person believes a lot of wackadoodle conspiracy theories, like the earth is flat type shit. But after that person told me I was brainwashed by the media to think I was genderqueer, I was like, actually, I've been brainwashed by the media to think I was fucking straight and cis, because that's all you fucking see. And then I was like, I'm intentionally now going to listen to way more queer content to validate the beauty of the queer experience, to hear more trans voices, hear more queer voices, hear more gay voices, you know? So I did that on purpose. I was like, fuck you, I haven't been brainwashed, but now I'm gonna be. I'm gonna listen to this shit extra hard, and I'm gonna see the fucking magic that queer people have, and I'm gonna fucking worship the gays. And every morning I'm gonna wake up a little bit gayer, a little bit more trans, and you can fucking suck it. So anyway, that's the story. So I have 3 gay podcasts for you guys. Oh, also, I think it's cool to brainwash yourself to be more queer and more gay, because the statistics for like queer people and addiction are fucking bad. Like, I didn't even look them up to like tell you numbers before this because I don't want to be depressing. But when society is like beating your ass every day and you're like afraid to go pee in a public bathroom and the government is trying to eradicate you and you're getting called slurs and getting bashed and you're in physical danger and mental danger and you're always stressed out, like, oh, no surprise that queer people have way higher rates of addiction. Like, that is not a shock to me whatsoever. But I love queer people. I love y'all so much. And I think that if we do these practices to create more of an environment and self-love within ourselves, that perhaps that can be one piece of our puzzle to get into long-term recovery. So unbrainwash yourself, get rid of all of those like hateful attitudes that have soaked in, get rid of that like internal homophobia and whatever the fuck else by listening to podcasts where we're just talking about being so gay and loving ourselves. So the 3 podcasts that I listen to that are so gay are, the first one is Gender Spiral by Beardsley and Babette Thomas. It's an interview-based podcast. They have on guests and they just talk about like the complexity of the queer experience and like when you figured out you were trans and what it's like to be trans in whatever sort of like world sphere their guest is a part of. And it's really good sound quality. They're really funny and cute and it's pretty unfiltered, like the conversations. It's like, it's fearless, honestly. It's just next level, funny, cute, gay conversations that I absolutely love. And personally, I am in the gender spiral myself. So it's really validating to hear different queer people's experiences on their podcast. So I suggest Gender Spiral. I also suggest in the same vein Gender Reveal by Woodstock. It's basically the same thing except with one host typically. Tuck has on a variety of guests that are in all different realms of society. It'll be like, you know, a trans noise musician and then like a trans journalist and then like, I don't know, a trans doula or whatever. And it's just like a lot of talk about like what even is gender, honoring like the complexity of it and like the beauty and the value to everyone's differing experiences. So I also recommend Gender Reveal by Woodstock. And then the last gay podcast that I listen to is the Translash podcast by Imara Jones. This one is different than the others because Imara is just like a trans journalist. And she very deeply and super intelligently dives into all of the trans issues, like the current political environment and current events for trans people. And she's getting parts of the stories that you don't hear other places, like where the funding is coming from to create all the anti-trans laws and how situations can be changing with like passports and travel and just like every different current event, like nuanced concept that has to do with being trans in the United States right now. And she is just like, she's an amazing, outstanding, excellent fucking journalist. And I love her so much. And if you want to get the real news type shit instead of just like whatever bullshit corporate news on trans issues, she's where you can get it. And actually, on season 5, episode 147, that came out on June 12th, Recovery Demystified was featured in their Trans Joy segment. They start every episode with a bit of trans joy because a lot of times the episodes contain a bunch of depressing shit about how the government is trying to genocide us or whatever. So they're always like, okay, but there still is trans joy out there. So they interviewed me, and it's like a short little blurb about Recovery Demystified and how we're like uplifting queer people in recovery. So maybe you want to check that out. Season 5, episode 147. Recovery Demystified on the Translash podcast, and maybe I'll be on Gender Spiral and Gender Reveal one day, being super gay and super sober. But yeah, let's uplift the gays. God bless gay people, and y'all deserve recovery. Y'all deserve peace and rest. How about that? Take a little rest, dear. If you're struggling today, whether you're gay or not, I love you. And yeah, I think you're a badass for surviving. I know you can do it. Try listening to one of these podcasts. Try reading out one of these books. Try something new. Go out, touch grass. Get a glass of water. Sleep at night. Call your mom. I mean, do whatever you want. I'm not telling you what to do. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I love you. May you be happy and free. Recovery Demystified is produced and edited by me, Early Brunner. Stevie Petet made our logo. Our social media manager is Kaylee Bausch. Logan Bragg wrote our beautiful theme music. We are entirely supported by donations as a 501c3 nonprofit. Your tax-deductible donations can be made to our Venmo or to our PayPal at Recovery Demystified. May you be happy and free, dear listener.